Hi, Michael here. In this video, I want to talk about 5 programming languages which will hopefully lead to a high-paying job. If you are just thinking about learning to code or are new to software engineering, I could understand it if you were overwhelmed by the number of languages there are out there. According to Wikipedia, there are over 700 languages for programming. In my 20-year career as a software engineer and now as a software team leader, I've seen languages come and go. But in this video, I want to talk about languages which I have directly worked with and I think will have a good future, because I don't want you to waste your time learning something that is going to go out of favor in a few years. If you are interested in a career in software engineering or in just learning to code, please subscribe so that you will get notified when I put out further videos on this subject. When you have subscribed, please comment in the comments below this video and I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. After I cover the list of programming languages, I will give you my suggestions as to what would be good combinations to learn. So, without further ado, let's get to the list. The first language we will talk about here is, no surprises, Python. I've worked with Python developers or data scientists to create applications which have used models to process data. The data would be uploaded to the cloud via a website developed in .NET or C#, which is my chosen technology, and then once the Python program had finished, the results would also be shown via this website. It is a language I intend to learn, so please subscribe and to hear more about that in the future. The main advantage of Python is its simplicity and brevity, which helps with learning it. You simply don't need to write as much code. It can also pretty much do anything. If you're interested in data science, then I would strongly recommend Python, as the other languages covered don't have such a strong focus on that. In terms of disadvantages, the main one I've heard is performance. Though as someone just learning a language, I don't think that would be such a big consideration. Also, because it is quite simple, learning a language like Java or C# afterwards might be a bit more challenging than learning those languages first. However, I think when you're starting out, anything that helps you get started, i.e. in terms of a simple language, is an advantage. The next language I want to talk about is Java. In terms of my own experience in the UK financial sector, I've worked with systems that interface or transfer data to Java systems. It's used very widely. It runs on many different platforms and has done from its beginnings over 20 years ago. It has a great community. You're going to find lots of resources to learn on how to learn Java. And yeah, it's used extensively. In terms of disadvantages, well, it's a bit harder than Python. Some argue it's had its day, but that isn't really borne out by the figures that I've found. The next language on my list is JavaScript. Now, 98% of websites in the world use JavaScript, so it's pretty extensively used. I have used it for over 20 years in my career. Starting out, I used it for sort of simple validation, validating what's in a text box. But as the years have gone by, more recently, I use it for complex business logic on the website front end and producing very functional front ends. If you want to be a front end or full stack developer, I would say, in my experience, you have to learn JavaScript. It's great for web or mobile and a little bit of data science. However, for other types of development, you would probably have to learn another language. On the downside, it can be a bit quirky. They say it was created in 10 days, and some people say it shows. Things like on different browsers, it can produce different behavior. Also, the debugging experience perhaps is not as nice as other languages. The fourth language on my list is SQL, or Structured Query Language, or SQL. Now, this is a language I would learn as a second language in addition to one of the others I've spoken about. On job listings, it's in many ways cases requested as a second language. Basically, its purpose is to manipulate data in relational databases like Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, or Oracle. Again, this is a language I've used throughout my career. Now, data in an organization is kind of a gold mine. It allows business decisions to be made if it's presented in the right way. Therefore, having the skills to manipulate this data is very important, and that is where SQL is so powerful. Also, in some cases, the database can handle processing of this data much better than application code can. So writing code in SQL to process this data is better in some cases. So, as I said, it's a good skill to learn as a second language. However, I wouldn't learn it on its own because you would be kind of limited. The final language on my list is the one I have kind of specialized in, C#. I would strongly recommend it for learning as a beginner. It's cross-platform, although it wasn't always this way. In the early days, it was more focused on the Windows operating system. Like Java, you can pretty much do anything: web development, mobile development, game development. Salaries are mid-range, and I believe it has a good future. I've always managed to get good roles with it at big companies. The Microsoft Azure cloud system is also quite powerful, and it ties in well with that. Many companies also have a historical preference for using Microsoft over open source, although that is less so these days. The only downside, as I would say, is it's not as cross-platform as some of the other languages that we've looked at, but I think it's heading in the right direction. If I had to choose one programming language out of the list that I've just covered, I'd probably choose Python for its simplicity. However, if you're interested in just front-end development, then JavaScript would be a good place to start. And if you are interested in full-stack development, then JavaScript, Python, and SQL would be a good combination, or JavaScript, C# and SQL would also be a good combination. If you want to know more about becoming a software engineer, please check out my other videos on the subject. And see you on the next video.